Hey, welcome to Life in the Leadership Lane. I'm your host, Bruce Waller, where I get to talk to leaders that are making a difference in the workplace and in our communities. What did they do to get started? And what are they doing to stay there? And here we are, season 7. Oh my goodness. And I have another special guest for you today. Today, I'm getting to talk with Sandy Michelet. She's the Vice President of Human Resources at Sparkhound. They're a IT technology service company. She is also the author of her new book, My Family Tree Stops With Me. We're going to be talking about that today. She does a lot of keynote speaking. She's also a former Louisiana SHRM State Director. And Sandy, I'm so excited to have you on the show. How you doing?
I am great. I'm excited. I'm excited to chat with you.
I always like to start the show off whenever just kind of reflecting or, when I met my guests or when they might have came into my path. And for you, I remember meeting you at the national conference. You were the state director. I want to, I want to say it was in Las Vegas, but it could have been in New Orleans.
If it was national, that's when we hosted it in New Orleans.
New Orleans.
And
Yes.
that was the year that we did the Mardi Gras parade, and it was absolutely incredible. It was one of the best moments.
That's where it was at. And did you know that
Yeah.
was my first time to visit New Orleans? So I was up there the first few days of the conference, and I loved. I remember that conference because George W. Bush spoke at that conference. It was fantastic. But the first few days I was there, and then the next I stayed an extra 3 or 4 days because my wife came in, and we celebrated our anniversary, and we explored every part of that city, and that was one of the most amazing cities we've been at. It was incredible.
It's so cool. I think people think they know New Orleans, that, well, it's Mardi Gras and it's the food. There are so many
Yeah.
things to do there. And it's just the history is incredible. And it's just a great day to spend, a great place to spend a couple days. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and we didn't really spend that much time in the French Quarter. I mean, we were like, we
There's
did
so
a
many other
walk.
things to do. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much
Yeah.
to
It's
do.
crazy.
This is so good. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Well, I'm so glad to have you on the show. I've had you on my list for a while. I was talking to Rebecca Briley. Shout out to Rebecca. And she was talking about your new book, and I was like, let's get her on the show. Let's talk about that. And I do want to dive into that. But before we do, I would love for people to know the Sandy Michelet story. Like, where did you grow up? And how in the world did you get into leadership and HR? And now you're an author. And you're also, I want to throw this plug in, you're also advocating for childless women.
Yes.
And I wanted to talk about all that with your story as well.
So much. I've spent the majority of my life in Louisiana and went to school. I'm an LSU Tiger, and I got into HR like a bunch of people do. We just kind of stumble into it, and
Hmm.
it's not something, at least back when I was in school, something that people talked about. Well, do you want to be in HR for the rest of your life? People. There weren't curriculums to do that, at least a lot of them. And I started working with companies in sales. And
Mm.
then I actually moved toward the training side. And that's when it was only called training. And now we've got the whole, learning and development thing. And
Hmm.
and it was something that I really enjoyed. And I liked working with people to try to help them, give them the tools to make them do their jobs better. And I loved that. And I loved partnering with them and the leaders and just absolutely loved it. And then after a couple of years of that, I moved into HR operations, and it was just so incredible with how systems integrated and
Mm.
how people work together and how to make workflows happen better and how to streamline processes and all of that nerdy stuff. And I absolutely loved that, and really have kind of continued to do that. As my career has gone on, I've had the opportunity to work for a Fortune 500 company, and I was able to work in the education sector for a short time. But I've been in the technology, the wireless side, and then the technology side of it for 20 something years, and just love it.
There's so much here. Isn't it funny how you mentioned that you stumbled into HR? I would say the majority of people that I interview have stumbled into their field. Isn't that interesting how we don't really know until we get into the field
Yeah.
what it's all about, and then we kind of go from there. And I
Yeah.
find it interesting because my daughter's a dietitian. She always knew she's going to be a dietitian. But those are the rare breeds.
Yeah,
Most
it
people
is.
don't really know until they get into it, do they?
Well, and I love that because we don't know, I mean, who I was at 20 and who
Mm.
I am at 58 this year, completely different. And so I like that people are open. I
Mm.
feel horrible for the people that choose a career
Yeah.
and then in that career their entire life and they hate it.
Yeah.
Well, then do something else. Get out of
Yeah.
that and do something else. And you
Yeah.
can go from being an engineer to a teacher because that's what you have passion about and that's okay.
Mm.
Like I think people need to be more vulnerable in saying that this is really not what drives me.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I don't want to do it anymore. And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's how we get so many HR people. They're like, I was not doing what I was liking and I wanted to do something where I felt like I could make an impact to the business and bam, we are.
I remember I started out in operations and then I navigated to sales and marketing. And, I always like to talk about find your lane. I wrote a book called Find Your Lane. And I like to ask my guests this. Okay, so yes, you stumbled into it. Yes, you went from sales to training to learning and development. Then you went to operations and you just grew through the process. But was there a moment during that time, during your career, can you think back of a moment when you found your lane? You're like, I love this. This is what I love to do. Any thoughts around that?
Think it was I was working for the Fortune 500 company and loved it. There were so many things going on there. It was a very large company, obviously. And I remember a meeting. We were actually looking at a lot of different, we were trying to choose a new vendor for something, a new HRS. And I remember there being so many discussions about it and what was the right thing and what we were going to do and how could we step back and look at that. And I remember just thinking, this is what I was born for. Like I just felt so much. And I
Mm,
remember riding up in the elevator to go watch all of these vendors do these presentations. And I'm like,
mm,
I could not love what I am doing anymore.
mm.
And that really surprised me because I never thought that and it wasn't the technology side of it
Yeah.
or the vendor side of it. It was really the more of, I feel like I have the ability to impact change. And I
Mm,
think positively impact change. And I think that's really what got me. And now years later, I've been at Sparkhound. This is my 12th year. And
mhm,
which is just amazing, so exciting. Now the ability to impact change through really the people side of it and work with the leaders and work with the employees to how can we support you? How can we measure performance? How can we coach our employees? How can we give the employees the tools that they need? Those types of things. That's really the thing that's driving me right now and trying to make the company better. I mean,
mm,
every company out there has limited resources and they have their teams are getting smaller, so we've got to
mm.
be smarter about that finite time that we actually do have. So what can we do with our employees
I love
to
that.
get them productive and all, but show them that we appreciate them. Crazy talk here. People are people. And so we've got to do a better job, I think, the world of showing our appreciation to the people that really matter and the people who are doing things. I say all the time that my group is not revenue generating. We do some consulting, we do some HR consulting within my
Mhm.
company, and I love that. But we are not. I mean, our role here is to support those who are bringing in the revenue and how can we help build a strategy to support that and how can we build what we need to help the company grow more effectively and better and not be a barrier.
I
Yeah.
love that. I
Yeah.
wrote down two things. One is you realized you were adding value. I love that because you're like, oh my goodness, I am adding incredible value here. Everything
Mhm.
I've learned, everything I've got to at this point, now I'm able to use that. And the second thing I wrote down is I wrote this, actually, I wrote a section in my first book about knowing your role. You know your role. and you're playing your role. Hey, we know our role in HR, or I know my role in sales, or whatever that case is. Now go play that role, go add value, and do great things. This is
Mhm.
so good. I love that. Hey, I want to talk about your book.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, I don't know. Yes, I do know. I've written a book as well, but it's very challenging to have a full-time job and write a book. Talk about your new book. Your new book is called My Family Tree Stops with Me. I want to know. I want to know all about it. What motivated you? Let's start with that. What motivated you to write the book?
Well, so we got to go back some. We got to go back
Okay.
some. So I am childless, not by choice,
Okay.
meaning my husband and I have been married. It'll be 26 years this Wednesday in 2 days.
Oh,
And
congrats.
I thank you. Very excited. I was never able to get pregnant. We tried and tried and tried a bunch of things and it never worked.
Okay.
So there is a huge realization of this is what I thought my life was going to look like. And it is going to look completely different. So I am a bad person. I am a failure as a woman. I'm a failure as a wife. I've disappointed my family. Society thinks I'm a terrible person.
Mm,
I'm an outcast, all of these things. And I was living with all of that for years and years and years. But then getting up the next day, crying at night, crying in my bed, crying in the bathtub,
mm,
crying in the shower, crying everywhere, and then getting up the next day and leading a team because that's what you do. That's what,
mm,
that's what we all do. And so going through that and then realizing that I was going through the phases of grief, the Kubler-Ross phases of grief. I was going through that, but I didn't realize it. And I found a resource that kind of walked me through the phases of grief. And it was almost like a slap in the face where I'm like, wait a minute, I am not crazy. I am
mm,
going through the phases of grief. And once I could put words around grief and put words around shame and put words around guilt and all of these things that I was feeling, even though none of it was my fault, I still internalized all of that. I
mm,
realized that I wasn't the only person going through that. And so I started a website called thechildlesslife.com and started doing and there was a blog in it and started talking about that your life can look differently than you think it will, but it can still be amazing. It can still be fabulous. And so as I was doing that, women were starting to reach out and they wanted to talk back to me.
mm,
And so they're like, "Ooh, I want to talk about this." And so that's when I started the private Facebook group.
mhm,
And that started with, I think there were 7 of us the first week, and we just hit our 9 year anniversary, and it is now global, and
mm.
we have 3,500 women in it,
Oh my
and
goodness.
they are in that group all the time. And what is so incredible about the women in this group is that they are all in varying phases of the journey. So we have
Mm,
some that are just coming to terms with being childless. And then we
mhm,
have some who, like me, have figured it out. We've got some women in their 20s. We've got some women in their 80s.
mhm,
And they're just women who are trying to build a life differently than what it what they thought it was going to look like. So out of all of that, I started talking with women and I realized that I was getting asked a lot of questions. I'm like, I need to write this down. I need to write this down. And then one day I'm like, wait a minute, there's something here.
mm,
And so I found a publisher that was actually recommended to me by Jennifer Leday,
mm,
who is a Thibodeau speaker, and she's amazing. And she recommended a publisher and worked with them, signed with them, and started writing the book. And it was, I knew that once I started writing, it would just kind of come,
mhm. Yeah.
pour out of me. And I
Yeah.
have a lot of blogs that I had used
Yeah.
that I kind of used as a starting point.
Mm,
But the whole point of that is to let women know that they are rock stars and they are freaking incredible and they
mm,
are amazing. And this is one aspect of your life. It's a big old one and it
mm.
can overwhelm you, but you are still incredible and amazing and a rock star and all of those things. It just looks different.
I love that. You have the gift of encouragement.
Yeah.
Is this private Facebook page? I can put a link. You can send me maybe a link to in the notes, or someone can contact you to be part of that.
Well, so they would search, they would get on Facebook and they would search the childless life
Okay.
and it will pop up and then they answer some screening questions,
Okay.
but it's very protective of the women's
Perfect.
hearts,
Yeah.
and then they can join that.
Yeah. Love that.
But then there's also a public The Childless Life group, so they can get
Okay.
on that. And then I just started a TikTok and an Instagram. Talk about humbling. That
Hmm.
is the craziest thing trying to do these videos, but that is starting to gain some traction as well. And those names are The Childless Life as well. Because I want to talk about life and living
Yeah.
and how great, but it's
Yeah.
three words, The Childless Life.
Yeah. I love that. I've written down several notes here. The first thing I wrote down is community. It's like you wanted community, you found community, and now you've helped others find community
Mhm.
to help with whether resource, grief, shame, guilt, whatever that is, but really with healing, to knowing that, hey, look, maybe that's not the plan. Let's like come to join us. Let's just share stories. And I talk about purpose a lot and how sometimes people don't know their purpose. Sometimes purpose finds them. And I'm thinking in this particular case, that might be the case. I also wrote down 3 question rule. I used that I talked about in my last book, Drive with Purpose. And that is, you said, hey, I'm getting these questions over and over and over. I need to do something with it. And the 3 question rule is, hey, you need to track questions and people ask you the same thing over and over and over. You need to turn that into a product or a service, or in your case, a book. And that's what you've done with that. And that's what I love about that. How long did it take you to write the book?
I started in about March, I guess, February,
Hmm.
March, and then I fell. I slipped. I slipped in my
Wait a
bath.
minute. You were
I
you were
slipped in my
writing the
bath.
book and then you fell.
And
Oh
then I
my
fell, and I
goodness.
was actually on the phone. It was the week before the state conference in
Okay.
Louisiana.
Uh-huh.
And so I slipped. I had left water on the floor, hit my head, really rough concussion for about nine
Mm-hmm.
weeks. But the week after that, I went to the state conference and I was co-chairing with Karen Bro, who's also a rock
Mm-hmm.
star. She's
Yes,
amazing.
she is. Yep.
And so I had 9 weeks where I wrote not one word. And so started in February, March, 9 weeks of nothing. And the publisher was like, "Hey, what's up?" I'm like, "Nothing, nothing is up, nothing is up." But then we officially launched at the end of November.
Yeah.
And we went on, I think, pre-sales November 4th. So
Mm.
it was a lot. It was a lot. So in kind of during this whole thing, I told my husband, I'm like, I know that I'm writing in a coffee shop and in our kitchen and in the living room and on the couch and sitting in the bed and in the car and all of these things that I'm sorry. But as you know, I mean, you've written like
Mm-hmm.
once they start coming out,
Yeah.
you've got these
It's momentum.
it's momentum and you can't plan it. Well, I'm going to go
Yeah.
sit down Saturday from 3 to 9. I mean, you can be doing something completely different and bam, it's
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And then you go, right,
Yeah. So good.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Now that you've written the book, the book's out. We'll put a link in the show notes if someone wants to click that link and get a copy of that. What's something that I don't know. So what's something yes, you knew everything you wanted to say, you got it out there, but what's something you've learned once you've put the book out? Maybe some people shared some stories with you. I don't know. Maybe share a couple of things you've learned, or and a couple of things that are in the book that people might be interested in hearing more about.
Well, one thing is that because I have this incredible group of women who are in this private Facebook group,
Yeah.
I asked them who would like to submit something. So I have 19 women from the group who have
Oh.
submitted, who has made me cry, who have submitted their stories. And some are anonymous and they used a pseudonym and some use their real name, and
Mm-hmm.
the strength that
Mm-hmm.
it took for these women to do this is unbelievable. And the stories, that was really the first time I got emotional about the book, when I was reading
Mm-hmm.
their stories, and just how powerful that was. So that's one thing during the writing of the book. Since the book has come out, the one thing that surprised me the most are the amount of people that have reached out to say, I know someone who is childless. I love somebody
Mm-hmm.
who is childless, and I want to get the book to them, and I don't know, what do I say? And never in a million years would I've ever expected that. I had no idea that so many people were trying to figure out, because there's so many triggers.
They're trying to
And
connect.
they're trying
Yeah.
to connect. And so there's so many triggers in a childless person's life, just like any person who is going through grief. It's not specific to childless women, but baby showers at work. Those are
Mm,
difficult. I have a
mm,
whole thing about crowdsourcing for baby gifts in the book, and going to a family event and you find out that your relative is pregnant. There's so many things like that.
mm,
And there are babies everywhere. There are children everywhere. There's graduation. There are all of these things. So people that love these women want to help,
mm,
and they're not sure what to say. And I wasn't
mm,
expecting that vulnerability to come from these other people. I was not expecting that at all.
mm.
And that just touched my heart so much, because
Yeah.
that these people are part of these women's communities and they want to help and support.
I was just
So
having a conversation with someone recently, and it was after an event, and she looked like she wanted to talk, and we started talking, and it wasn't about this particular topic. But when I got done, I walked away thinking, there's something like everybody has a story. And a lot of times we don't think about that, especially when we talk about, even in the workplace, a lot of times we talk about employee engagement. Are they engaged? Are they not engaged? Are they passive? But sometimes it's finding like these touch points. It's very difficult to find a touch point for someone that is having a hard time in this particular case, is childless, can't have children, but you don't know that.
mhm.
And for someone to say, "Hey, I've been looking for a way to connect," and your book's going to help them connect, that's got to give you this feeling of significance. That's the word that comes to mind. It's like, hey, you were given this, like this message came, you put it together, and now you're able to, just like I had earlier, I wrote adding value. You're able to really create some value for this person to be able to help get them connected. You gotta be so proud of that, don't you?
I thank you. I am. I mean, my goal is to get the book into the hands of women who need it, so they feel like they are less alone.
Mm.
I don't know any author that ever writes a book because they say, I'm going to make millions, because as you know, that, right, it is
Not me.
I, not, yes, zero concern about that. My number one concern is trying to get the book in women's hands,
Yeah.
because there are so few resources out there. And I do want women to realize that they are worthy and that they
Mm.
are incredible. And that's very important. And as the book progresses, I start off talking about grief and talk about my story, but
Hmm.
as the book progresses and I start saying these are some things that, you know, I tried this and it worked. I tried this and it worked. I have QR codes to songs by strong women and say, click this and listen to this song as you're working through this next exercise.
Mm.
Keep yourself going. And then we do another. And I'm like, and listen to this song and listen to this song. And at the end of the very final thing is my kind of a piece of my story that
Hmm.
just says, you've gotten this far. You went through a
Mm.
290-page book and you are here. And I wish that you were here in person so I could hug you and high five you and tell you that you've got this,
Yeah.
because they do. I'm so protective of these women
Hmm.
because I am one of these women.
In
I'm one of these women, you know?
you,
Yeah, I am.
I you mentioned earlier about the different people in the group and their different ages. Is there like I don't know, I don't have the statistics on this, but is there an age where you have less of a chance of having children? I know that you mentioned earlier there's people in your group that are even in their 20s and 30s. I had a friend of mine one time, I think she was from like the Netherlands, and she said the average women in that particular country have children in their like late 30s. Is there an age or some different signs? Do you talk about that in the book?
I really don't, because I knew that it was going to be a global resource and hope that it
Yeah.
would be global resource, and it's proving that it is, which I'm so honored for. Various things can make somebody childless not by choice. So we have women in their 20s who have gone through ovarian cancer.
Okay.
We have women in there who have unexplained infertility, like I do. We
Hmm.
could never, a zillion tests could never figure out why. And
Yeah.
so I didn't want to say that it was a certain age. I do know that statistics in the United States are around 20%, 18, 20, 22% of women in the workplace do not have children.
Hmm.
And some of that could be child free.
Hmm.
And little definition here,
Yep.
child free is by choice,
Yeah.
meaning that you decided not to have children.
Hmm.
Childless, not by choice, is exactly what it says. You're childless,
Yeah.
not by choice. So those two groups going together, that makes up a large portion of your workforce. I mean,
Yeah.
think about 20%, you've got 100 employees, 20 of them could possibly be in that group.
Hmm.
And what can we do? You talked about engagement. Well,
Yeah.
I talk about that in the book about orientation. And if you're doing new hire orientation in person, you're going to go around the room. Well, I like to fish, I like to hunt, I like to whatever. I've got one kid. Well, then it starts going around the room,
Hmm.
and then pretty soon it gets to a person and they feel uncomfortable, and
Hmm.
instantly. So
Yeah.
I've got a lot. In fact, I spoke at SHRM Talent a couple of 2, 3 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
And the topic was specifically on, do your unofficial childless policies impact your ability to recruit and retain?
Hmm.
Because it is an inclusion topic that
Hmm.
we do not talk about enough.
Hey, let me ask you this. I'm curious. Like you wrote this book. It sounds phenomenal. I cannot wait to get my hands on it. I'll be ordering a copy as well. Did you get support from your company, or did they show you support on that? I know when I wrote my books, I did get that support, and early on, it wasn't really a book for my company. It was just I just wanted to write a book, but I really kind of wanted their support along the way too. Did you ask for that, or did you get that?
I didn't ask for it, but it was definitely given. That was when we did the book launch in November. We had a book launch party with 150 people from the
Yeah.
city. And oh my gosh, walking in that
Oh.
room and seeing all of this, it was incredible. And our CEO was there with his wife and
Oh,
bought a couple of books, and I was able to sign them. And that was just the most thrilling
that's
thing.
awesome.
The people here have just been, because I've been here for so long, they've really supported the ups and downs of the journey.
Mm,
And I'll be 58 this year. So I started when I was 48, which is really, or 47, I guess. That's
hmm.
really towards I knew when I started here I wasn't able to have a child, but it
Yeah.
really didn't hit me until about 11 years ago. And I was
Mm,
here
mm,
and going through all of these things emotionally and getting up and going to work the next day. So a lot of the things that have come out in the book, no one here had any idea, because it wasn't something that you talk about, because I have to
mm.
be positive and strong and all of those things. And now that I've just pretty much laid all of my vulnerability out on the table and everybody knows all kinds of stuff because it's in the book, that's a relationship strengthener, I think.
Yeah.
That you've got to be able to be your real self, your authentic self.
Hey, and let me ask you real quick. I mentioned you use some keynote speaking. Are you wanting to speak more on this? And so if people are interested in getting you to come speak, is that something you're interested in doing more of?
Absolutely. I mean, I've been speaking for 20 something years, and I
Okay.
truly enjoy it. I love connecting with the audiences. I'm finding myself now doing more things that are kind of slanted toward this.
Yeah.
Um, and open to talking about any of the things that I speak on, but I really would like to get this message to more people, because we're not talking about it enough. We're not talking about it enough. And when you think about, you're hiring people who are childless, you're employing people who are childless, you go to church with people who are childless, you're in the grocery, all of
Mm,
these things, these people, I'm one of these people, are in our lives already. And yes, I would love to speak more on it to groups. And I'm looking at some of those things right now.
I love that. Well, I'm looking forward to sharing this podcast with everybody and getting the word out. And I will get all the information in the show notes. I do want to ask you one last question, and that is for people who have not been able to talk about it yet. They know they're childless, not by choice. Any tips for someone that might be listening that might be in that situation right now? They're not part of a group yet. They're just not sure what to do. Any thoughts?
I would say to connect with a group. To my group is the Childless Life. Get on the Facebook group, worldchildlessweek.net is incredible. World Childless Week is every September. It was started by Stephanie Joy Phillips out of the UK, and that is an amazing resource. Reach out to me. I know you said that you'd put my contact info in the show
Mm-hmm.
notes, but the shame and the grief and the guilt and all of that really starts to lessen once you find a community and realize that you are not alone, because you feel so much on an island when all of these, and with any grief, and I want to keep saying that because my focus is childless, because that is what I am living. But any kind of aspect of grief that someone is going through,
Mm-hmm.
very often they feel like they're the only one, because
Mm-hmm.
that's what grief does. Grief is powerful. That's what it does to you. But finding a group, and I have people reach out all the time, and I absolutely love every time, because like I said, that's hopefully one less person in the world who feels alone.
This has been so good. The book is My Family Tree Stops with Me, author Sandy Michelet. It is, I'm just, man, I have chills. This has been so good. When you said that just now, it reminded me of, I was at a SHRM National Conference when I heard Michael Phelps, the Olympian, speak on stage. And he was talking about mental health at the time. But regardless, he said, the more you talk about it, the easier it gets. And I thought about that. That's with grief. But you've got to have a community to
Mhm.
talk to. You've got to have people to talk to. And so I love the advice you shared. And again, I'll put all this information in the show notes. This is gonna be so good. I'm gonna shift here. I told you the time is gonna fly by. I'm gonna
Does.
shift to it's time to accelerate. I'm gonna ask you just some fun questions.
Okay.
Like, okay, so here you are. You got your book out. The new year's kicked off. What are you looking forward to most in 2026?
This is going to sound cheesy, but connecting with more people. I know
Mm,
that sounds so cheesy, but that's exactly what I'm looking forward to, and also cutting myself a little bit of slack. That's my hope, is that I'm going to cut myself
mm.
a little bit of slack.
I love
And
that.
yeah, I'm going to try.
I love that.
I'm
Oh
going
my
to try.
goodness. I tell myself that too, man, Bruce. Give yourself grace.
Give yourself,
Um,
my
Hey,
gosh.
you're a continuous learner. I mean, I've known you for a while now. I can just tell you're always want to meet people. You want to learn. You want to hear the story. What's something you've always wanted to learn? Anything you've ever like thought about? Like, I want to learn to do this.
There's so many things. I know one thing that I definitely want to do this year as part of learning
Yeah.
is I want to get back to reading, because I was for
Hmm.
years was reading a good book a month.
Hmm.
And with everything else, I've really gotten off of that. And I
Yeah.
used to think, well, audiobooks, I'm not going to listen. I have to old school.
Me too.
And now I'm like, on the way here this morning, I was walking up the stairs and I had Brene Brown in my ears,
Uh,
and getting back
yeah.
to reading or listening to a book a month, because
Yeah.
that's when you listen to people who are just super well known for what they do. I mean, it's constant reading and
Yeah.
education, and I love that. And I think that's a good way to do it, is through just through reading a book, listening
Yeah.
to it, however you have to get to it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yep. I love it. I love it. Okay, two more questions. Uh, Great leaders or grateful leaders. I talk about it in my books. What are you most grateful for?
my family. I have an awesome family, and
Mm,
a support system like no other.
mm,
And I have men and women in my support system who are very strong, but I have a group of women who we would run through barriers for each other. And I'm so thankful for them. They have
mm,
gotten me through so much. In fact, at the book launch that we did, Karen Bro and Mimi Lee were the two that introduced me. And I was
mm,
sitting there, I'm like, how is this possible? Like, these
mm.
two women are so incredible.
I love that.
Strong female support system.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know many, many volunteer leaders from the great state of Louisiana. And yeah,
They're,
I can see
oh
that. That's
yeah,
so good.
Louisiana people are so amazing. Yeah.
Okay, here you are. You mentioned you're 58. And so Sandy 10 years older. So the 68-year-old is standing around the corner knocking at your door, and you're going to go answer that door. What's she going to tell you?
That it was fine. Why am I so
Mm,
emotional today? That it was fine. That
mm,
life ended up great. And at
mm.
68, I'm going to be figuring out how to be an amazing 78-year-old. Let's just start there. But at 68, I think I'm going to look back and go, you did this. You're good.
Yeah.
You're good. It wasn't everything isn't bad. Everything was good and you learned a lot and what a freaking life you have led. That's
Mm.
what I'm thinking that the 68-year-old is going to say. And who knows what the 78-year-old is going to say, are you ever going to go home? You're just
Just
traveling from beach to beach and doing all this fun and great.
ooh,
Yes.
I,
You're never home.
I
You and your
like that
husband and that
one.
dog of yours are going everywhere. Yes,
I
that's what I'm
like
hoping.
that. That is so good. Oh my goodness, that's a wise 10 years older and even 20 years older, Sandy Michelet. I am so grateful for you for coming on the show today and sharing your wisdom. Okay, so for those that are listening, they got to meet you, they got to learn more about you, they got to hear your story, you got to share your book, and they want to follow you, they want to connect with you, they want to learn more. Maybe they have some questions. How is the best way for them to connect?
I'm on LinkedIn,
Okay.
and that's one way. But for this kind of thing, I would say for this type of thing that we're talking about, Sandy at thechildlesslife.com is probably the best.
Okay. And I'll put a link in the show notes and just click on that link and just say, "Hey, Sandy, I heard you on Life and Leadership Lane podcast, and here's why I want to connect. Here's something you said that might have made impact, and that will be it makes the connection so much easier." And so again, Sandy, I appreciate you. I'm excited for you. Congratulations on your book, and I'm so excited about your road ahead because it's truly, truly in the lane of significance, and you're going to do some amazing, amazing work. And so, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so, so much. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Okay. I can't wait to share this. I'll talk to you later.